The date was November 1st, 2025. Just before dawn, the sky over northern Ukraine was not merely dark, it was burning. Russia's Operation Winter Strike began with brutal precision, unleashing 42 cruise missiles and 18 Lancet drones. The total payload value exceeded $160 million, raining down on civilian centers like Kharkiv, Chernihiv, and Sumy. In minutes, this calculated display of power plunged vast cities into darkness, targeting millions of innocent lives. The goal was not tactical conquest, but total psychological capitulation, crippling the nation's infrastructure. Beneath the iron wail of air raid sirens, the chaos was swift. Apartment blocks crumbled and key factories were ripped apart. A maternity hospital in Chernihiv took a direct hit, a moment of devastating consequence that would not be forgotten. Across 5 provinces, 14 substations failed, cutting heat to 400,000 residents as temperatures fell below -11 degrees Celsius. As firefighters fought infernos with melting snow, the final blow struck a $93 million UAV production hub near Sumy. Satellite imagery, cold and unforgiving, later confirmed 112 fires still raging across the ravaged region. This was a message etched in smoke, confirming Russia's winter campaign had struck deep into Ukraine's northern heartland. But the silence that followed from Kyiv was not defeat. It was the cold, calculated sound of retaliation taking shape. Hours after the attack, deep within a hardened command bunker beneath the capital, President Zelensky convened his war cabinet. Around them, live feeds displayed the carnage, frozen streams of refugees, collapsed power grids, and blackened ruins. The commander-in-chief, General Oleksandr Syrsky, broke the tense silence with a single, irreversible order: initiate operation. Spiral Gate, a response designed to be precise, psychological, and devastatingly public. The target was Moscow itself, the capital, protected by the planet's most advanced, multi-layered air defense system. This defense shield, budgeted at over $9.4 billion, included 240 radar stations, Pantsir S-1 batteries, and the Krasuka 4 electronic warfare center. The stakes were existential. Failure meant catastrophic loss, but success meant rewriting the rules of the war itself. Kyiv planned to breach this fortress with 2 heavily modified fighters, jets whose combined cost barely exceeded $12 million. The mission called for pilots to penetrate over 600 kilometers of the most heavily guarded airspace on Earth. The chosen platforms were 2 MiG-29 Fulcrums, secretly refitted with specialized low-visibility coatings and infrared suppressors. These spiral variants carried Kh-31 anti-radiation missiles and R-77s, a strike package worth nearly $48 million. This counterstrike, a fraction of the $420 million in damage inflicted upon Ukraine, was intended to hit 10 times deeper than raw expenditure. On November 2nd, 2025, at 0358 a.m., the modified fighters, call signs Phantom 1 and Phantom 2, roared to life. They skimmed the radar horizon, Mach 1.7 thrust pushing them just 36 meters above the snow-lined Russian treetops. Above them, 240 enemy radar stations swept the empty night sky, yet saw nothing of the approaching threat. The planes were ghosts, utilizing cutting-edge stealth suites that cut their detection probability by a staggering 87%. At 3:59 a.m., the first move of Operation Spiral Gate commenced, a brilliant act of electronic deception. Phantom 1 released a single Lelika 100 UAV decoy, a drone worth $25,000, programmed to mimic a full-sized fighter jet. Instantly, 2 Russian Pantsir S-1 batteries valued at $15 million each took the bait and locked on to the Phantom signal. The resulting $1.9 million missile salvo erupted in the sky, effectively blinding a crucial sector of Moscow's air defense grid for the next hour. In the ensuing chaos, Phantom 2 surged forward, switching from silent stealth mode to brutal strike configuration. Its radar locked onto the primary target, a $12 million Krasuka 4 jamming unit that had previously blinded Ukraine's own forces. A Kh-31P anti-radiation missile screamed through the snowstorm at Mach 3.5, hitting the ground target dead center. The subsequent explosion vaporized the massive electronic warfare unit, erasing 20% of Moscow's overall radar coverage in seconds. Panic seized the Russian command networks. Radio nets crackled with overlapping voices and multiplying ghost readings. In the confusion, a Tor M2 battery 28 miles away fired blindly, its expensive missiles confused by specialized Ukrainian code algorithms. By 4:05 a.m., in just 7 minutes, Ukraine's 2 jets had destroyed over $58 million in Russian assets while spending less than $200,000 on decoys. The way was clear. Phantom 1 and Phantom 2 climbed to 10,000 meters, the faint orange glow of Moscow visible on the horizon. From Kyiv, the coded transmission was simple and cold. Target corridor confirmed. Proceed to Phase 4. At 4:09 a.m., the first strike hit the frozen capital, a city of 12.7 million still asleep in their illusion of invulnerability. 3 R-77 air-to-surface missiles plunged toward the city, striking high-value apartment towers along Kutuzovsky Prospect. The shockwave shattered over 3,000 windows across a 3-mile radius, turning a 70-story glass tower into a column of molten, surging light. The attack paralyzed Moscow's civil and surveillance networks almost instantly. All 76,000 city cameras went dark. The capital's entire western power grid lost electricity for 14 minutes, plunging 2 million residents into unexpected darkness. Phantom 2 then executed its own deadly dive, firing a salvo of 5 Kh-31 missiles toward the government and utility complexes. One missile slammed into the Reserve Parliament building, while another ignited $110 million worth of fuel stores at the Kutuzov power plant. The blast wave from the power plant cracked windows as far as the Moscow River embankment, the echo rolling across the silent city like thunder. Within 20 minutes, the Kremlin confirmed initial casualties, but chaos had already spread through the panicked metropolis. Highway overpasses became choked with abandoned cars as terrified civilians fled on foot, staring up at the sky glowing red with fire. The total cost of the infrastructure crippled by the attack was later confirmed to exceed $620 million. At 4:22 a.m., the skies fell silent, save for the fading hum of 2 jets disappearing into the clouds. Kyiv broadcast its stark message to the world. Moscow was no longer untouchable. The center of power was vulnerable. The sun rose over a city of smoke and fear. Metro lines were halted and mobile networks collapsed, silencing 9.4 million residents. For nearly 2 hours, the world's largest metropolis had been moved backward a century by just 2 small aircraft. Inside a crisis bunker beneath Red Square, President Vladimir Putin faced his paralyzed generals. The total structural and military loss from the 16-minute strike exceeded $2.8 billion, including $620 million in defense assets. The Russian leader signed an order for retaliation, but the command lines were still down. The immediate response mechanism had failed. Moscow's command and control system had been crippled, unable to coordinate communication between fire brigades and police for 17 crucial minutes. NATO's Crisis Response Council convened in Brussels, offering no condemnation of the Ukrainian action, only concern. Quietly, the United States approved a massive $800 million package for long-range UAV production to Kyiv. Zelensky delivered his televised address. "There are no safe skies for those who bomb hospitals," he declared. The vulnerability of Moscow's $9 billion shield had been exposed by 2 aircraft whose cost barely reached $12 million. This strategic humiliation, analysts concluded, was the cheapest in modern history. Innovation had dramatically outmatched intimidation. The initial $420 million in Ukrainian losses was avenged by a counterstrike costing under $4 million, a ratio that defied all military logic. A leaked NATO intelligence brief circulated. A $1,800 drone exposed the vulnerability of a $500 billion defense doctrine. The age of brute force was fading, replaced by precision, willpower, and code, rewriting the military textbooks overnight. As the smoke cleared, Ukraine mourned its dead. But Moscow was left counting its broken glass and shattered confidence. The $620 million infrastructure loss was more than just a material cost. It was a psychological tremor felt globally. In that fragile stillness, one truth echoed louder than the explosions that preceded it. You can build walls of steel and surround them with nuclear shields, but history always finds a way to fly through the cracks.